This is the Title IX self-audit for Green Valley High School Athletic Department by Jesse Whitson. So the Title IX self-audit is a pretty effective tool that can and should be used in order to determine whether or not a school is in compliance with Title IX. So I think one of the important things about these self-audits is that schools need to understand that the self-audits can be conducted for any number of Title IX issues. Usually we think about Title IX in regards to athletic programs. However, this tool can also be used frequently to determine if a school is compliant in regards to anything regarding sexual harassment policies, things like that we've learned about throughout this course. And so that was a big thing that I learned as I was doing some research on these Title IX self-audits. So they're not just used for athletic purposes. But regardless of the issue, Title IX self-audits should be conducted on a regularly planned basis by the schools, by the administrative staffs, in order to ensure that the school is in compliance with Title IX. Administrators should have a plan of how often this tool should be used. They should have committees that are on board working together to ensure the objectivity of the audit and ensuring that they are in compliance. It's important to ensure the objectivity in order to make sure that everything is reported correctly, kind of to avoid legal issues down the road. It's also important to do this regularly in order to ensure the quality or the equality in the school that is guaranteed by Title IX, and equal opportunities for both male and female programs should be constantly evaluated throughout the growth of the entire athletic program. And so that's why I chose to do this with Green Valley High School. I've recently moved schools, but I chose to do this with Green Valley High School because they have experienced a lot of growth in their athletic program since the mid-90s, and I thought that it was a really good chance to look at how a school district and athletic program have grown substantially and still adhered by Title IX regulations. Okay, so again, those equal opportunities for both male and female programs should be constantly evaluated throughout the growth of the entire athletic program, and any additions or subtractions of teams from the athletic department should be well calculated in order to determine the impact it will have on the entire athletic department's compliance. As I mentioned, this is the self-audit for Green Valley High School, which has experienced a lot of growth since the mid-90s, and the coaches there were very helpful with this and provided me with the statistics, the roster numbers, and travel opportunities and competitive opportunities that I needed in order to conduct the research for this self-audit. So a little bit of background about the athletic programs at Green Valley High School. So you can see on the left-hand side here that we have many number of athletic programs available to our kids: football, boys and girls soccer, volleyball, cross country, which is for boys and girls tennis, boys and girls golf, softball, baseball, wrestling, which is for boys and girls. However, this past year was the first year for women's wrestling being a official sport under MISHA this year, and unfortunately Green Valley was unable to field a women's team, but that was just due to lack of interest. There is some interest building in the lower levels. There are a few girls that wrestled in the middle school program that will be coming up to the high school later down the line. We have boys and girls basketball, track and field, swim and dive for boys and girls, which was our most recent addition, along with girls wrestling. Last year was the first year that either one of those teams competed. And then there was also cheer, and dance, which got cut off at the bottom of the screen, unfortunately. So overall, we have 20 athletic opportunities for our student athletes at Green Valley High School. All those opportunities are available to both male and female competitors. Really, the only sports that you're seeing without an exact counterpart are volleyball, and dance and cheer allow males on the team. So volleyball is about the only sport that we had at Green Valley that does not have a direct counterpart like baseball does with softball or boys and girls soccer or anything along those lines. So expansion of the program over the last 20 plus years, it was a necessity for the school to expand. And so this is a reason why I wanted to study this athletic department and their compliance, because they had to expand. I thought that it would be good to look at them and see how they have met the needs, the interests, and the abilities of the student athletes in the school, male and female alike. So the school's grown from just over 500 students in the mid-90s. It was a Class 1 school at that time, to nearly 1,300 students since the mid-1990s up to now. I think this will be their first year almost touching 1,300. The influx of freshmen this year probably pushing their numbers up the rest of the way there. So they're even getting close to a Class 4 school. So since the mid-90s, the athletic department has added the following opportunities for our athletes in that time. Wrestling was one of the first additions back in 1995. Softball came right along with that. The newer ones are boys and girls cross country, boys and girls soccer, boys and girls golf. Girls golf was a very recent addition as well. Boys golf always had a team. However, in order to be compliant with Title IX, until we added a girls golf team, that team was a co-ed team. We did have a girl that was really good that qualified for the boys state tournament. So we allowed that. Boys and girls tennis, like I mentioned earlier, softball, swim and dive, and dance are some of our newest additions over the past about 4 years or so. Maybe dance we've had for 5 years now. So they've done a really good job of trying to adequately meet the interests of our student athletes with those additions. Now, in order to get a more exact look at the numbers and to determine whether or not the athletic department was compliant with Title IX, I chose to use Self-Audit Component 1. And this takes a look at the effective accommodations of women's athletic interests and abilities. You can pretty much tell from the list that I've created that the opportunities are there for our female student athletes, but I wanted to take a little bit closer look at the numbers and see what the participation actually looked like and if we're in compliance based on the numbers. So as you guys know, in order to demonstrate compliance with Title IX, a school has to provide the following couple of things. Number one, they have to provide equivalent participation opportunities for girls, which I really do think that they have shown with the addition of those sports over time. They've done a really good job. When they add a sport, they add a male and female counterpart. When they added cross country, it was boys and girls. When they added soccer, same thing. Tennis, same thing. Golf was a boys' sport for a while. It was allowed to be co-ed, which provided the girls with their opportunity. And when enough interest came around through the research, through surveys, figuring out what the girls wanted, the girls' golf team was added. And then the second thing that they have to provide are equivalent levels of competition for the girls. So for this test, I decided that for the participation opportunities that can be fulfilled by any one of the three-pronged tests, I chose substantial proportionality. And this basically lets us look at the athletic participation rate of women and making sure that it is substantially proportional to the enrollment percentage of women in the school. And then for the second part, the equivalent levels of competition, I just looked at their equivalent competitive opportunities. And so again, I got all that information from the coaches at school. So based on the numbers that I was given from our administration, our female enrollment percentage is about 49%. And so then I started looking at the numbers. Our unduplicated female participation rate, which your unduplicated rate is, just that gives you your exact number of participants. You don't count them for participating in a sport more than once. Our female participation rate is at 48%. Our duplicated female participation rate is counting them for every sport that they take part in is only at 43%. And so what that kind of tells us is that we don't have as high a number of girls playing multiple sports as we do with the guys. So our unduplicated participation variance is 1%. Our duplicated participation variance is 6%. Optimally, you want to be at 5% or lower to be in compliance with Title IX. However, I think that the issue here is not so much a Title IX compliance issue, because we saw from the statistics of the sports that we offer that there are plenty of opportunities for the girls. I think what we're just seeing is that we have a few more girls that specialize in sports than we do with the guys' side of things. The other thing is that you have a sport like football where, you have huge numbers. There's going to be a lot more of those guys, on a team of, 120 plus that are going to participate in more than one sport than you're going to have on the girls' teams. The girls' teams are naturally a little bit smaller. There's no girls' team that fields 120 people like a football team does. So from these numbers, I would say that Green Valley has a very compliant Title IX approach in their opportunities that they offer for our female population. Now, as far as the equivalent competitive opportunities, this just means that the girls' teams play at the same amount of contests as the boys, which they do at our school. Almost every night, the girls at basketball is the example I would use. They play on the same nights as the guys do. They have the same opportunities to play in the same gym as the guys do on the same nights, and they're given the prime time spots on those nights as well, just like the guys are. The girls compete equally on all levels at our school, meaning that they're equally distributed between varsity, junior varsity, and the freshman levels. They're not being restricted to one level. And then I think most importantly from our school, both the boys and girls teams are provided with the same opportunities to participate in those major tournaments. We have a lot of coaches that kind of double up and coach multiple sports, and so they were able to testify to this, that all the teams are given equal opportunities from the school. And then, when they want to go beyond that, the school is very supportive in, fundraising and allowing those sports teams to travel to bigger tournaments that maybe will be on a higher level, maybe an out-of-state tournament, a national level tournament or competition that allows them to gain more recognition. And all teams have the same opportunity. They're held to the same standards. And, if the money is there through the school, everybody's allotted the same amount. If the fundraising money is there, then the teams are allowed to go out and participate. So, based on this research, I'd say that the overall outlook is that Green Valley is very compliant with Title IX. Their variance issues come from a lack of female athletes participating in multiple sports, and that affected us in that duplicated participation variance rate. It's not from a lack of opportunity to participate. They all have the same opportunities, the same amount of teams, they have the same resources and everything. Again, when the teams have been added, such as golf, where there was boys first and then girls came later, they were allowed to be co-ed before another team was added for the opposite sex. And the competitive opportunities are equivalent across the board. So overall, I'd say they're very compliant.